There we go. Recording in progress. Go ahead, Jace.
Okay, well, thank you. Well, so yeah, I'm down here in Texas. I'm in Port Aransas, and we started up a citizen science project called Nurdle Patrol. And so Madisyn and I are going to kind of tag team this. I'll just tell you a little bit about Nurdles to start out so that you know what we're talking about. And then Madisyn will go in and tell you how you can actually earn the patch, because this is really cool that she created this, and I think there's going to be a lot of buzz around it. So what is a nurdle, right? So nurdles are the small plastic pellets that are the basis for almost everything plastic. And so you think about your computer, your glasses, your dashboard in your car, all that was first a nurdle before it was made into that actual product. These little pellets, they're transported all over the world to factories that melt them down, add color, and then make the actual product. And then how come they're showing up on our beaches, right? Well, not only our beaches, but lakes and rivers as well. It's has to do at the manufacturing site where they make these. They're small. They're easily dropped on the ground. When it rains, it gets into their stormwater and then washes out, into the waterway. Whenever they transport these through truck or rail car, there's a possibility for these getting out onto the ground. And then once they actually get to where they're going, their final destination, they can also fall out on the ground whenever they're being offloaded. Now, so why do we care that these are getting out into the environment? Well, there can be impacts to wildlife. That's probably the number one bad thing about these things. And so back in 1992, the Environmental Protection Agency, they actually came out with a report that talked about the sources of where these pellets are coming from and then recommendations on how to clean them up. In this report, they had about 80 species of birds that they knew about at the time that were eating these pellets. Now we know there's actually hundreds of species eating these. But if you look in the middle of the screen here, there's a digestive tract of a bird, and there's probably about 10 or 12 pellets in there. And that's the bad thing. They can clog up the intestinal tract. They can make, there's no nutritional value to these things, so they can actually starve to death. The other bad thing is these pellets, when they're in the environment, they can absorb harmful chemicals. And so those chemicals can also be bad for the animal. And so there's a lot of studies going on about that right now. So here's, Nurdle Patrol and how you do one of these surveys. You go out for 10 minutes, you find your first pellet, you start your clock for 10 minutes, you count how many you collected after that 10-minute period, and then you go to nurdlepatrol.org and you put your data in there, and it shows up on a map. And so the map looks like this. It's color coded. And the colors are based on the concentrations of pellets you find in that 10 minutes. And so greens are 0. Remember, even if you find 0, that's a data point. That means there's no nurdles to be found there. But then as the colors get warmer, concentrations get higher to where, red is over 100 nurdles that you're finding in a 10-minute period. Purples are over 1,000 in 10 minutes. And so you looking at this map around the United States and Mexico, you can kind of see where some of the hot spots are. But the more data that we have, the more information we will know about where these pellets might be coming from. So let's look down and say the San Diego area. Here's some surveys that have been done. 1 to 30 nurdles looks to be pretty common. And then there's some areas where they're just not finding any. So there's 0, but that is very important data to have. So kind of big picture of Nurdle Patrol, we've had about 4,300 volunteers that have sent in data so far to that map I showed you. Over 9,600 surveys have been completed at over 4,200 sites across the United States and Mexico. And actually, there's 13 countries that have added data into the site. We have over 135 partner organizations that we're working with. We've also created a teacher Nurdle kit that we send out to teachers to teach their students about how plastics get into the ocean, and it's all free. So go to nurdlepatrol.org, go to the news section, and you can find out how to get one of those for your class. And then recently we came out with an app, so you can download the Nurdle Patrol app to put your data in. And then here's my last slide. We have a Facebook account to keep people up to date. It's called Nurdle Patrol. People post what they're finding and where. I know Madisyn, whenever she came out with this patch, we started posting in there, and there's a lot of interest. So there's a lot of cool stuff that people post almost on a daily basis there. And then this is what the website looks like, nurdlepatrol.org. So with that, I'll stop sharing my screen, and then we'll have Madisyn tell you how you can actually earn one of these patches.
Okay, let me just turn to my screen. Okay, is it working? I think we can see it.
We see it.
Okay.
There you go.
Well, hi, I'm Madisyn. I am the one who is working on her silver award. So mine, as you know, is all about Nurdles. So what have I sort of been doing? Well, I first reached out to Nurdle Patrol, Jace. I emailed him and asked him if I could set up a Zoom with him so I could learn about Nurdles. Once I had that Zoom with him, I got great resources and I knew what to do, and I started just working on it. My idea was to create a patch. You can see up here, this is my patch design. Here's the real thing right here, but it's on my screen. So I created this patch and I made a worksheet with it. This worksheet is for brownies and up. There are different requirements for them. And I also started creating videos about Nurdles. So I made an animation with my grandfather. So that was really fun. I got to do a bunch of editing and animation work, drawing. It was a great new thing that I learned. I loved it. I made some videos on how to find Nurdles. And I also ordered a book from England, actually. The writer is Claire Val. She wrote about Nurdles. She's a huge activist on Nurdles. She has created 3 books, I believe. I ordered the Nurdle one. So I'll get more into her later, but she's been helping me also. So about my patch worksheet, like I said, this is for brownies and up. So what you'll learn is what Nurdle is, how to help the problem, and how they end up in our environment. So you'll learn how much is probably made like a day or so, how they end up in our ocean and ecosystems, how it affects our whole world in general, and animals that eat them. So each patch does cost $2, and I'd probably just ship them to wherever you choose to ship them to. And each requirement, so they're on the requirements, there is, you have to do like an action and then some learning. So you get to choose which ones you want to do. So where can you find my patch? You can find mine probably if you email me. I will send you the PDF form. I don't believe I have it on anywhere yet. I believe Nurdle Patrol will post something about it soon. So you can find it there, just nurdlepatrol.org. But for now, just email me at madisynlb.hamby@gmail.com. Oh, there's a little error right there. There's supposed to be a B after the A. But you can email me and I will send you the PDF form and instructions, and with my worksheet. Actually, if you don't want to do the worksheet, you can also email me and ask if you want to set up a Zoom. It would probably be like a 1 or 2 day thing where with your troop or something, I could teach your troop about Nurdles and you can earn the patch that way. We just have to set up times and then dates. So going back to who I reached out to England, Claire Val, as I said, she is all the way in England, which is kind of awesome. I found her book on Etsy. You can check out her page. It's Seaborn Design. So she sells jewelry made out of Nurdles, microplastics. Her books are amazing. She has great resources on what Nurdles are. She also sews tiny little characters from her book, as you can see on the left. So that's something fun that she does. But how she's been helping me is I reached out to her asking if I could make a video on her book, which I did. So with her, she has been helping me spread the word about my patch worksheet to Girl Guides, which is Girl Scouts in England. So that's kind of awesome now that my patch is going to be in England. So I'm hoping that some girls will be interested in learning about Nurdles and do my patch worksheet all the way in England. So you should definitely check her out. She is a wonderful lady. So going back to a little bit about the Nurdle problem is, why is Nurdles an issue? Well, Nurdles are an issue, like Jace said, that when they are being shipped around the world, they are small. So they fly out everywhere and land into sewers and then get washed out into the ocean, lakes, rivers, train tracks, almost anywhere, mainly in water areas. But so animals eat these and they have health problems then, you know, like Nurdles collect, sorry, this is my dog. Anyways, Nurdles collect toxins and from like the ocean or just being on the ground in general. So when animals eat these, it makes them feel full, which means they can starve to death, which is not good. We do not want that. Or if they're not dying yet, like they don't starve to death yet, fishermen, they catch them and sell them to restaurants or something like that. And that means we eat that, which is very bad for us. We can have major health problems. We really just don't want plastic in us. I learned that almost every month, each person eats a credit card. I learned that at a Zoom I went to talking about microplastics, and that stuck with me. I was like, wow, we eat a whole credit card a month. So that's something interesting that may stick with you, and it's definitely stuck with me. So why do we have Nurdles? Well, like Jay said, Nurdles are used to be melted to make all plastic items. So I don't know, your computer, like he said, that has plastic in it. Even like these little belt buckle thingies on backpacks, those are made out of Nurdles. Everything plastic is usually made out of Nurdles. So how can you help this, right? So using metal, wood, bamboo, or cloth items is definitely a huge thing. Single-use plastic is a major part. If you don't know what that is, that's basically like if you went to a fast food restaurant and you got a fork and like a plastic bag that the food came in, or like styrofoam, the boxes that it comes in, you use that once. You don't usually keep it. I mean, you can, but you usually don't, and you just throw it away. Well, now we need another plastic fork because you used one. So what do? We make another one from Nurdles. So just using like metal water bottles instead of these plastic ones is a huge thing. Volunteering at beach cleanups, that is a huge one. Picking up any plastic in general is great on beaches or anywhere, honestly. If you're on a hike and you see a piece of trash, I suggest like you have a tiny bag with you just in case, and then you can like stuff it in there and throw it away later. Looking for microplastics, which is basically big plastics that have been broken down over time into tiny ones. My jar's over there, but I forgot to grab it. But you can Google them, microplastics. They're basically just that plastics broken down. Looking for Nurdles is a huge one. I learned that that's one of like the top things that is bad for our oceans and environment in general. It's just a huge thing that's a problem. And probably one of the biggest ones is teaching others. So that is one of my biggest things, is teaching others. That's why I'm doing this webinar, to teach more about this, to inspire more people to help this problem. So if you even just like tell your family about it, tell friends, I don't know, go to Zooms or something like that, just tell someone, it's a huge thing. The more people that know is so much better, you know, because then we have more people that are interested and want to help this, so we have more people to help. So again, how do you get this patch? So with my patch, here's a little bit of oh, I can't highlight. Oops. There we go. Okay. So where it says brownies, juniors, and cadets. So on my worksheet, some of them have a red star like you see right here. And that's just for brownies. So they have to do those ones because they're much more easier. They're more like videos that are more understandable. So I have those. Juniors, they'll have to take action and then to learn about them. So each level usually has a different, I guess, things to do, amount to do. So some of the requirements, these are just examples from my worksheet. Watching a video explaining Nurdles and their effects. So I have a few videos on that you can choose from. You can go to the Nurdle Patrol website and explore it and learning about nurdles and what they've done. And then, or you can like teach others about nurdles and the effects of them. So that's just like a few things that you could do. But so definitely, if you just want it, email me at madisynlb.hamby@gmail.com. That is probably the best way to get the patch worksheet and the requirements for it. You can also email Anne Marie. She can direct you to me. So that's the end. And if anyone has questions, please type them into the chat and I will be happy to answer them for you.
Okay, thank you, Madisyn and Jace. I'm waiting for my trusty assistant, Empress, to let me know if there's, oh, she said there's no questions at this time. The best way to contact you is just to email you, and then you could set up a Zoom meeting with their troop, and you guys could talk about what the requirements are and what you need to do to get the patch and things like that, right?
Yes.
Yes. And so, Jace, I have a question for you. You showed a really great local map of the status of the Nurdle Patrol. Is that live map? Is that map live on the Nurdle Patrol website?
Yeah, so the map is really cool because it's like a Google Earth type platform where you can zoom in or zoom out. So people can zoom in and see their house on there. And they can zoom into their favorite beach and see if somebody's actually taken samples there. And then you can also print it. So you can print it up digitally or hard copy on paper. And then that's a tool that people can use to take to the agent, a state agency that's supposed to be regulating these companies, or elected official to say, look, we have a problem here. Or the map, I think, is really good too, to say, look, we don't have a problem here. That's, of course, most people have plastic pellets, nurdles on their beaches and along their rivers. So most people are going to say, yeah, we got, but this is a tool to be able to allow people to figure that out.
Right. I have some comments and questions. Lots of comments saying that, Madisyn, you did a great job. So you have a lot of fans out there. I do have a question for either one of you. Someone asked, when is the best time to look for nurdles? Is there a good tide? Is there a good time of day?
Yeah.
Do you want to try that, Madisyn?
Or should I?
Or Jace, whichever
Madisyn,
one.
you can go for
Okay,
it. I have an answer.
so definitely the best time to look for nurdles is during low tide. So you have more space to find the nurdles. In one of the videos on my worksheet, there's a video on how to find nurdles. So you'll learn about different tide lines from different times of the day. So definitely starting at the oldest tide line, which is, you can definitely see where they are from the seaweed. There's usually like a seaweed path where they all just are scattered around in one line from when the waves hit that. So definitely low tide is the best. You can find it on Google. If you just search tides for blah, 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 that beach, you can definitely find it. And that's the best time.
And I'd say you're right. And, some places don't have big tides. Like here on the Gulf Coast, our tides are like 6 inches, So what we end up finding a lot after rainfalls. So you think about how these nurdles actually get into the waterways, after rainfall events and big waves. So we found if there's big waves and there's rainfall events, those are the times when you can find a lot of nurdles on the beach.
Oh, that's good to know. Definitely. Okay, so someone says, is it necessary to use gloves or tweezers to pick up nurdles?
So with the Nurdle Patrol methodology, you can't use any tools. So it's by hand only. And that's an important one because, when we first started Nurdle Patrol, that first couple of weeks, people were using dip nets and sieves and buckets and all kinds of stuff to go out. But, you wouldn't really be able to compare one site to another if somebody's using their hand, at one site and they're using a net at another. So we got rid of all that data for those first couple of weeks and started fresh and said, you have to use your hand only. And so we make sure that, people use their hand, and that way we can compare what's going on in California to what's going on in Louisiana to what's going on in Texas, so all over the country and all over the world, we can have the same way of comparison. The other thing we do is now you can wear gloves if you want. If you're going to be going out and collecting, every single day, gloves is probably a pretty good idea. I don't use gloves, and if you're just doing it every once in a while, probably fine. But if people want to be really cautious, you can use gloves.
I have a great question, another great question probably for Jace. What policies and regulations are needed nationally or internationally to reduce nurdle production?
So currently, the Environmental Protection Agency does not categorize nurdles as hazardous material. And really, them in themselves, when they're at the factory, they're probably not. But once they're released into the environment, then they start absorbing those harmful chemicals. Then they could be considered hazardous. So that would be like big picture, Environmental Protection Agency considering these hazardous materials. On the state level, permits for anyone who handles plastic pellets, they can have stricter permits. And so there's typically a general permit that every state has. If they could change language to say 0 plastic pellet loss, that would actually give regulators and inspectors the tools they need to say, look, we found nurdles here and it's a problem. Because I'll give you an example. And California actually is the only state that has that outlined in their permits. Every other state in the United States has something very vague and it's a loophole. So like in Texas, the permits say that, companies are allowed a trace amount of suspended solids. And so that's a loophole, because what's a trace amount to a company that makes billions of these nurdles a day,
Right. Okay,
So-
we got some great questions coming in. The methodology for hand pickup is great consistency. So they did want to comment on that. How would masses of nurdles be picked up just to clean up the beaches? So if there's one thing about the patrol, that's the methodology for monitoring. What about for cleanup? What's the best methodology if you just want to do cleanup?
So if you want to do a cleanup and you're not going to be putting the data into the, nurdlepatrol.org. So say you have a spill and you're trying to get to clean up out there. There are machines. There's the plastics industry, and there's some nonprofits and companies that have developed backpack vacuums. There's vac trucks, so big vacuum trucks that can, whenever there's a spill on site, think about these companies that, they're going to have accidents. And so they got to have ways to clean them up. So they have big equipment for cleaning that type of stuff up.
Wow, that's great. Let me just see, Empress, any more questions from the wonderful visit? No more questions so far. Okay, great. If you continue to have questions, please put it in the chat for this live video. The live video is going to stay archived on our site, and I will reach out to Jace and Madisyn depending on your question. And Madisyn, do you want to pull up your slot, that last slide with your contact one more time? There we go. So again, if you're a Girl Scout troop, this is great, because from brownies up, there's something for you to do. So, there's another question that came in, but I'll continue my train of thought. So from brownies and up, if you're a Girl Scout troop, anywhere, at least in the continental United States and Canada, probably, maybe, and we welcome Mexico, of course, too, is to email Madisyn. She will send you her PDF, and email her and say, you know what, it'd be great if you can give me a presentation or whatever you'd like to do. Please ask her that. And this might be a question for Jace. What is the most nurdles picked up in 10 minutes?
250,000.
How much?
250,000. There was a spill in August of 2020 on the Mississippi River of New Orleans, and there were so many of them that they were thick along the shoreline, and they were picking them up by hands and putting them in 5-gallon buckets. And so,
Oh,
you know,
Lord.
people don't, whenever you have that many, you can't count them out one by one. But we do what we do in typical research and scientific counting is like, you know, when you're counting bacteria or plankton or something like that, you take a subset and then you kind of, so you would take a cup. We know that in a cup of nurdles, there's 4,000.
Yeah.
In a teaspoon, there's 200, you know, so you can figure that type of thing out.
Yeah, you extrapolate out.
But so without a spill, the other highest is in Galveston Bay, in that it was a little over 30,000 pellets in 10 minutes.
Wow. That's amazing. That's sad, but I'm glad people are working on it. And thank you, Jace, for starting people to start looking at this problem, and Madisyn to spread it out to the Girl Scout world. That's excellent. So thank you everyone for being a part of this. We have looks like we had some great participants. Oh, wait, I got another question. It keeps on coming. How many people were involved in the 250,000 pickup? How many volunteers were picking up that?
That's one volunteer. So actually,
that was one volunteer picking up 250,000 nurdles.
Yeah, so you can zoom in to nurdlepatrol.org, the map there, go to Mississippi River by New Orleans, and you'll see the purple dots. Click on it. If you click on the dot, it tells you when it was collected, and it tells you how many collected and how long they collected. So actually, they collected 500,000 pellets in a 20-minute period, but all of the data is standardized for one person for 10 minutes.
Okay.
And so that it's all comparable.
So they finished the job, but they just didn't put it in the data sheet.
Well, it's on the data sheet, but the standardized number is the 250,000.
Oh, I see. You know what? I might have another question. Okay. Here's some props to Madisyn and to Jace. This is so informative. I know my troop will earn this patch. Wow, we got some takers already. Great job, Madisyn. And they say, great job, Madisyn. We got some takers already. Wow. So that's the wonders of social media. Yay. We're sharing the bad news of nurdles, the good news of doing something about nurdles. All right. Great. So thanks, everybody. Goodbye, everybody. Everybody say goodbye. Madisyn, Jace, say goodbye to our wonderful listeners.
Bye. Thank you.
And you guys stay on, and I'll just stop the live stream. And let's behave for a few more minutes, because I don't know if
we can stop recording yet.
Yeah, it's still recording.
And still, I can turn off. Let me turn off recording.